You deserved everything you got. This is a Union City.
That is a Philadelphia tradition.
Seize the means of podcasting.
Oh, God, the boss has crushed us.
Let me tell you one thing else.
In oldie-timey times,
Who said it? Kanye West or Thomas
we
Paine?
will not raw dog reality for that one.
The pleasure of the flesh is in solidarity.
The Scab Buster.
It's going to be wholly unprofessional.
Eight together strong. Let that be your mantra.
Hello and welcome to the Labor John podcast, where we wonder, and ponder about the working class history of Philadelphia and the surrounding world. My name is Sam James, and I'm joined by my co-host, friend, buddy, good old pal, and all around just a fantastic guy.
Oh,
That's your part, Gabe. What's your name?
I'm flattered, but my name is Gabe.
Today, we're going to be learning about something very cool, which I have no idea what we're going to talk about. And that's the wonders part of this podcast, is that I'm just left in the dark until you tell me what we're talking about, Gabe. What are we talking about?
If you'd give me a chance, I would tell you.
Jesus Christ, man, you're coming in hot.
So today we have the United Food and Commercial Workers. But
Okay.
if you look at the name, it's United Food and Commercial Workers.
There's an end in there.
Yeah. So it was originally two separate things.
Okay.
It was a combination of the Amalgamated Meat Cutters Union and the Retail Clerks International Union.
Oh, my God. Is this the rest of the episode? We're just going to go down the past of all the names
No.
until
no.
we find Union Local number 1.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't exist. It's a myth.
It's in Genesis.
But, okay, so UFCW formed as a merger
Yes.
1979, ended up creating the largest union in the AFL-CIO at the time.
Ah, all right.
That is totally tangential to what we're actually going to be talking about today.
Okay. Thanks for bringing it up, Gabe.
I just found it interesting because what we're actually going to talk about is that in 1961, both the Retail Clerks International Union and the Amalgamated Meat Cutters went on strike in Philly separately. So it's two separate strikes today. You get two for the price of one.
What?
The
And we're
price
not
is
putting
also free.
We're not putting this one behind a paywall. Hey, okay. Premium content from the Labor John podcast. 2 for 1. What a special. Blue Plate special. Blue podcast special. All right, Gabe.
And speaking of specials and buy one, get ones, we're going to talk about Snellenbergs.
Ooh.
And the 1961 Snellenbergs strike.
Okay.
So I think we've mentioned Snellenbergs before. Big old department store in Philly. It was founded in 1869 by Nathan Snellenberg, Samuel Snellenberg, and Simon L. Bosch. And they founded the N. Snellenberg and Co. Department store.
Okay.
And so the really groundbreaking thing that made Snellenberg a big name and
which made Snellenberg. Everybody knows this, Gabe.
Yes, that made Snellenberg. They both sold clothes and produced them pretty much in the same building.
Okay. Wow.
So today we would call that vertical integration. At the time, it was just called good business. And so first they had a production house and store in South Philly, actually on South Street, and then they moved up to Market Street, and basically I think their store was at 11th and Market, and they established themselves as the middle class department store in Philly.
Okay. So maybe the target of their time.
Yeah, I think that would probably be a good way to explain it.
The Target.
And so they actually ended up becoming the largest clothing manufacturer in the United States because they were basically all of their retail stores had a production facility included.
That's crazy, though. I mean, I brought up Target, but that's like if Target had a goddamn where they get all their clothes from, which is obviously a sweatshop from Cambodia. If they had it in the back.
Basically, yeah. It's just if the 20-foot high ceilings, you just cut off the top 10 feet and put a sweatshop up there. So
you don't know what goes on in the back.
It's true.
When you ask them, hey, is there any in the back? Like, yeah, we got to go make it. I got to go make some 12-year-old Cambodian kid to go make this shirt for you. Give me a second.
See, that actually, I hadn't thought about that, but you had no excuses if you worked at Snellenberg's.
That sucks.
You couldn't be out of a product.
It's like, oh God, can you give me a week? I'll go make it. All right.
Yeah. God, that just removes all the excuses. But so they had around 3,000 total employees, ranging from tailors down to retail clerks and everything in between. And by 1961, their retail staff were all organized with the retail clerks, or at least their center city ones at 11th and Market, were organized with the Retail Clerks International Union, Local 1390.
Okay.
Their contract with Snellenberg's expired on February 28th, and the clerks marched off on the 1st of March.
All right. Was there any? Well, go ahead.
Sorry.
You might answer my question, Gabe.
I misspoke.
Oh, geez.
It's been a long day. They spent the first week of March working without a contract.
Okay. Damn. So you were ready to get to the strike. You're like, fuck this. So negotiations continued. They worked without a contract. They were basically they were ready to go on strike, and it was kind of anticipated that they knew they were going to. Because if you don't have, you have a couple years to get a new contract. And if you don't have something, or if the company is still not refusing to actually negotiate with you by the time the contract's up, something's going to happen. Not that any recent happenings with 45,000 people have anything to do with that. Hey, I got my toilet paper.
Yeah. Which is domestically produced.
I know, right? And, people are nuts, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think COVID is very much still with us. It is, but also mentally, it's still with us.
Yeah. Negotiations continued through the first week. By the evening of the 8th of March, they held a mass meeting. And basically at that point, the union leadership made it clear that negotiations hadn't gone anywhere.
All right.
And company was still wasn't budging. So they're either going to have to give up or go on strike. And they voted to go on strike. So the morning of Thursday, March 9th, 1961, 1,000 clerks from the Center City store marched out and started the strike.
There we go.
Now, the store didn't close. They used a mix of executives, non-union personnel, and union scabs.
Oh, no.
There were a couple union scabs. It did, from what I can tell, it was maybe 5 to 10%.
Yeah.
Were scabbing, but
the self-checkout lanes didn't help either.
Yeah.
Back then, it was just a 5-figure discount.
Yeah.
Yeah. I paid for this. Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to see and not just a regional manager, but an executive from Target having to man a checkout line.
Oh God, having to manage anything in that damn store.
Yeah. So union set up a picket of around 50 people out front of the store and basically stretched between 11th and 12th on Market.
Okay.
And it was both picketing to keep people from entering and then also leafleting and trying to keep people from, or trying to encourage a boycott. And despite there being only 50 people out of the 1,000 who were on strike, the company immediately sought an injunction against mass picketing because,
of course,
yeah. So Judge Vincent A. Carroll
All right.
issued the injunction based on a no strike pledge between the union and the store,
Really?
which I find very suspect because they were operating without a contract. So a no strike pledge shouldn't be enforceable because that would
Very.
be part of the contract.
Interesting.
But I'm not a labor lawyer, so who knows? Now the injunction was granted to the store, but the judge said he wasn't going to enforce it
Okay.
because the union had agreed to meet with a federal negotiator. So
All right.
basically, they went on strike. The store got an injunction, and then that injunction was hanging over the union's head
Yeah.
and forcing them to meet with a negotiator, despite the fact that
Yeah.
they wanted to negotiate anyway. Like, yeah,
What is happening, Gabe?
the bosses are being stupid, Sam. That's as usual.
I think maybe that judge had some stock in Snellenberg's.
And honestly, like probably 50% of Philadelphia owns stock. If you owned stock in Philly, you owned stock in Snellenberg's. So the 20-person negotiating committee of Local 1390 met with the federal mediator Rex Marlowe.
Oh shit!
Great fucking name.
Sounds like something like a character from like Red Dead Redemption or something.
Yeah.
Like Clint Eastwood movie.
But yeah, having a name Rex Marlowe in the early 60s, that's just a dream right there. The
The 1860s.
Yeah. So they met with Rex Marlowe at 1 p.m. on Sunday the 12th. Talks lasted basically all through the night.
Okay.
And then by Monday morning on the 13th, nothing had come of them. There had been no progress despite them literally spending the entire night in negotiations.
Not
Then-
surprised.
No. So then they had a recess. They came in to resume in the afternoon. And then within 3 hours of that meeting that afternoon, they finally got a tentative agreement,
All right.
which was presented to a mass meeting at 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday the 14th. 700 members crowded into the town hall, which the town hall shows up a lot in like mid-century strikes. It was 150 North Broad Street. It's now a parking garage.
Of course it is, Gabe. Of course it's a parking garage.
It looked like a really cool building. It was
Now it's a very spacious parking garage.
So they took a vote. 75% voted to accept. And they've returned to work on March 15th under a new 2-year contract that was retroactive to March 1st.
Okay.
In that contract, wages went, or they had a $1.50 per week wage increase for the first year, $2.50 or $2.50 per week the second year, and this is for non-sales employees. Sales employees who made commission got 3% incentive commission over a 3-month period compared to the corresponding period in 1960.
Okay.
I think what that means is
I don't like when you think about something, Gabe.
I reread that like probably 10 times. And I think what they're saying is that if you met or beat your quarterly sales from 1960, you got an additional 3% commission.
Okay.
So every quarter that would probably get calculated.
Do you know how much they were making, like their base salary?
I could not find that,
All
unfortunately. But in addition to the wage benefits, they also got $16,000, or the company would provide $16,000 in healthcare benefits.
Okay.
And the union was already paying $15,000. towards everyone's healthcare. So they basically doubled that, which is great.
That's not bad.
Yeah. And then workers would no longer be required to work a 6-day week during the holiday season.
Damn. Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, happy, but they shouldn't have happened. That shouldn't be that way anyway. But
Yeah. So everyone would work a straight 5-day week year round, which honestly, like, of everything in this contract, that's my favorite part, because 6-day weeks fucking suck.
They do. Oh my God. Especially during the holidays.
Oh yeah. Dealing with crazy middle class Christmas shoppers in the 60s too. Like, be bad.
Ah, geez.
But that was the 1961 Snellenberg.
All right. Well, that was the end of the episode, Gabe. Yep. And
but wait, there's more.
Oh.
So I don't know about you, but occasionally I buy meat from grocery stores.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes. And that meat is cut by people called meat cutters.
All right, Gabe.
Okay. So meat cutting industry in the 60s had changed a lot.
Okay.
Since basically the way it used to be set up is you had like big regional effectively slaughtering centers, like the meat packing plants of Chicago are famous for this, where animals would get shipped in from all around the Midwest. They'd get slaughtered in Chicago, packaged, and shipped out.
They get processed, Gabe.
Processed.
The food gets processed in a plant.
You're right. It would be processed in Chicago and then shipped out. But the introduction of automated systems and electric butchering tools allowed that to basically get decentralized. So now you had a lot of smaller, not local, but like regional processing centers.
Yeah, mom and pop butchers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mom and pop slaughter and shops.
Yeah. The mom and pop slaughterhouse.
It's a pop-up slaughterhouse.
Oh, God.
You're going to see that at your local farmer's market.
Yeah. So in June of 1961, the federal government was actually looking at passing laws to limit automation.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
What?
There were congressional hearings on whether or not they should limit the expanse of automation across like multiple industries. So Pat Gorman, the general secretary of the Amalgamated Meat Cutters and Butcher Workmen, basically he testified before Congress and basically said that like the old Chicago stockyards have disappeared. The Meat Cutters Union has or membership in the Meat Cutters Union has dropped significantly. And like their entire industry has just disappeared in the past 20 years.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. And so he was arguing that like, yes, you should probably pass some laws about this. Now, focusing in on Philadelphia, we're going to talk about 3 separate grocery store chains. It's A&P, American Stores Company, and Food Fair Incorporated.
All right.
So A&P used to be the largest grocery chain in the country. We grew up knowing them as Superfresh.
Yeah, Superfresh.
Mm-hmm. So that was their Philadelphia area stores, or their Philly area stores renamed to Superfresh in the 80s. But they used to be A&P. American Stores Company is the Philadelphia-based conglomerate that used to own Acme.
Oh.
They bought Acme in 1917. Then they got bought out by Albertsons in 1998. But Acme is still Acme.
Acme is still Acme.
And for those not from Philadelphia, it is pronounced Acme. There is an in there.
For some reason. No one knows why. That's just how we say it.
Yep.
Unfortunately. There's a brainworm.
Yeah.
It's an RFK brainworm.
I mean, Philly water. There's lots of things in there.
You go swimming in the Schuylkill one too many times.
I think about the amount of Wissahickon water I've imbibed. So, and then Food Fair was a Harrisburg-based supermarket chain that went bankrupt in 2000.
Okay.
So, this is also in part why, or the story of how Philly ended up with only like 4 types of grocery stores. So, we used to have more.
If that now, yeah.
Yeah. So, November 1961, Union's contract was coming to an end. The Amalgamated Meat Cutters and Butcher Workmen's Union, and the Philadelphia Food Stores Employers Labor Council.
All right.
So
we can shorten those names. We can chop it up a little bit, guys.
I'm gonna just start referring to them as the Meat Cutters and the Employers.
And the listeners appreciate you for that, Gabe.
You're welcome. And my tongue appreciates it because
we can start.
Feel like
we could start what we used to do, but it always turns out to be like ass cages.
the Mikpua,
and the
Pufselk,
the Meat Cutters, Gabe. We're gonna keep it at the Meat Cutters.
Meat Cutters and the Employers. So negotiations were starting to break down, despite there being federal negotiators already on scene trying to get before the strike started, there were already federal negotiators.
The government's here, Gabe.
Mm-hmm.
All is fixed.
November 1928 or November 28th. 4 meat cutter locals had voted to strike at 150 A&P stores if there wasn't an agreement on the table by the 30th.
Okay.
The company offered one last-ditch wage offer by the 30th, but it was pretty much just too little, too late. Mm-hmm. And so while there were only 100, or while only 4 locals had voted to strike, there were 5,000 total workers in the bargaining agreement. And only about 1,000 of them would go on strike.
Okay.
When this all started. However, the employers stated that if A&P was struck, they would, or the other 2 chains, so Acme and Food Fair, would basically force the other 4,000 workers out in a lockout.
Really?
So you have like some employer solidarity there to screw over everybody.
Which is great to see.
Yeah. Do you love all solidarity is good, Sam? That's
I'm sorry. I grew up differently, Gabe. I'm sorry.
All solidarity matters.
All
So additionally, there was the risk that forcing out the other 4,000 workers might cause all of the stores to close, which would then impact 25,000 workers who might all get laid off.
That's a lot of angry people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of angry customers, too.
Yes. So negotiations stalled. And then December 1st, 1961, butchers marched out to the picket line at 150 A&P stores. That then triggered the lockout.
Mm-hmm.
It should also be noted that both Acme and Food Fair were offered a contract extension, but refused it. And they chose to lock everyone out. They were not.
Oh, the company. Okay.
Yeah, the companies were offered a contract extension, and they were only going to strike A&P, but the companies said, no, we're going to lock everybody out.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Basically because they wanted to try and break the union over the strike. So them them choosing to lock everyone out meant that instead of 150 grocery stores not having butchers, there were 475 stores in the Philly area that no longer had butchers. And this is also the beginning of the holiday season.
Oh, no.
So everyone was already getting nervous with how long the strike might last, because it would only take 2 weeks to really fuck up Christmas planning.
And if I can't get my ham and my turkey and my toilet paper, Gabe, goddamn it, I'm going to take it out on the workers.
So Union immediately responded to the lockout by declaring that it would sue the employers for an unfair labor practice. Leon Schechter, who was the local president, or the president of the local, said that he expected they would collect $1 million in damages. From the unfair labor practices lawsuit, because I think he was just fairly confident. The one good bit of news coming out of all of this is that the union got solidarity from the clerks at A&P and the Teamsters.
Ah, the good kind of solidarity.
So, because the A&P clerks were actually organized with the Retail Clerks International Union.
There we go.
So, again, tying it back into them. So they refused to cross the picket line, as did the Teamsters, which meant that A&P stores were no longer getting restocked.
There we go.
And there was no one to check out customers.
Love it.
So A&P tried to keep its stores open using management and supervisors.
And homeless people off the street.
Yeah. Per
UPS of 1997.
Oh, that's still like the craziest fucking story. So they weren't able to keep any of the stores open running anywhere like close to normal levels of operation.
Yeah.
Especially not the butcher sections, which they did. Like, they tried to have management run the delis.
Oh, I would love to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get a pound of Virginia ham? Like, what the fuck do I do? Can you imagine a manager trying to work a slicer?
You end up with like a quarter pound of Virginia ham, 3/4 pound of manager arm, and they just wrap it all up for you. Okay, so the other two chains, 3,000 workers showed up for work on that first day of the strike, but got told that management wouldn't let them in the building to go to work. So instead, they stood out front of the store and basically told every customer that came in that management has told us it will not permit us to work because of a strike at another company.
Damn.
So they immediately, they started leafleting immediately.
Good. I mean, these companies, I understand they're trying to break the union, but I'm not trying to give them any tips here. Almost like 50, 60, 70 years later, Gabe, but I think it's a bad idea.
2 of the 3 of them have gone bankrupt.
Hey, Acme's still around.
Yeah. And Albertson would never do anything to break a union. Okay, so additionally, at the A&P distribution warehouse in Yeadon, there were only 3 union members out there forming a picket line, but that was enough to prevent Teamsters from Local 107 and Local 169 from crossing the picket line.
Love it.
So now, not only were A&P stores not getting shipments, the warehouse wasn't getting a shipment, and nothing was leaving the warehouse.
Damn, man. I love solidarity.
Mm-hmm.
Goddamn love solidarity. The good kind.
So, they basically just completely shut down A&P's entire network in like a matter of hours.
That's what you wanted, boss.
Mm-hmm.
You got
it. So negotiations did pick back up during the strike. It took like a couple days, but everybody did go back to the table. But basically, the same issue persisted. The main sticking point was the employers wanted everyone to work 1 free night per week.
What? No. Mm-hmm. No.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, no.
Yeah. So according to the company, workers had a 40-hour work week with 1 night of late work and compensation for any additional late work done. So basically, you'd work your normal 9 to 5, and then 1 night a week you would do an extra like 3 or 4 hours of work.
Okay.
Obviously, negotiations broke down again.
Of course they did.
And by December 2nd, so the next day, the strike had expanded to an additional to 515 stores.
Damn.
So that's another 40 stores.
Okay. That's a lot.
And what's more is that all of the stores started to report a dwindling supply of fresh meat products. And some of the some of the statements from store management were great, because they would be like, well, we still have lots of like cured meats and sausages in the freezer section, so you should come and get those.
Oh, tasty.
And they also said that if the strike lasted into the weekend, basically all of the stores would be completely out of meat. And then in Reading, customers had emptied out the pre-packaged food by noon on the 1st.
Oh, God.
So, like, basically the deli section was just picked clean.
Yeah.
Which is honestly probably for the best, because it means the food doesn't go to waste.
Yeah. I mean...
So negotiations resumed in the later on the 2nd. And because pressure was starting to mount on the employers, because they realized that they were about to lose a lot of very perishable meat.
Yeah.
Very quickly. So they offered a new agreement with through the federal negotiators. So they gave the union a new tentative agreement. Leon Schechter, the president, encouraged all of the union members to attend their local meetings, review the proposal, and then they would meet at the town hall on North Broad to vote on the agreement. At the town hall on the 3rd, proposal was presented to a packed house. The offer was a $5 raise for the first year, a $4 raise the next. And that's weekly. So $5 a week, and then another $4 a week after the next year. Journeyman meat cutters were making around $112 a week at the time, which is like around $1,000 a week today.
Damn.
So
not bad.
Yeah,
not bad
for journeyman wages. That's pretty good. The wage increase would bring that up to around $1,200 a week in today's cash.
Okay.
But that's also after 2 years, so that's a $9 raise over 2 years. So Schechter and all of the other union leadership didn't try to guide membership in voting. Like, from what I can tell, they basically didn't give their opinion of it at all. They just presented it and told membership, like, this is your decision.
I like that, though.
Yeah. And membership pretty much rejected it flat out. Mm-hmm.
Really? I was not expecting that.
Yeah. So strike would continue because they knew that they figured they could get something better.
Yeah. The meat's going bad.
Yeah. So they were back out on the picket lines on Monday.
Okay.
And the one major outcome of that mass meeting was the negotiating committee was also authorized to make some compromises on overtime pay and the workload clause. So they were back out on strike, but they wanted to like actually have negotiations go somewhere this time.
Okay. All right.
I mean, fair.
Sure.
So Tuesday, December 5th, negotiating committee were given new authorization by union leadership that they could call strike votes at Acme and Food Fair. So this was, rather than just dealing with a lockout, if you declare a strike, then you can picket, which then means Teamsters won't deliver anything and the clerks won't cross the picket line. So basically they could shut down every single grocery store in Philly except for Penn Fruit Company, which had a totally separate contract. I think their workers were all Teamsters, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
The newspapers constantly kept mentioning, like, Penn Fruit Company is not impacted by the strike.
I think someone's getting a little money from Penn Fruit Company.
Oh, sorry. I totally forgot to mention the fact that while this was going on, the grocery stores employers labor council or whatever it was, it took out a full-page ad.
I knew it.
Yep.
I knew
in
it.
the Inquirer.
I knew it.
Basically, I think it was like, "Why strike these stores?" was the title of it. And basically they're just like, these greedy workers are just ruining your holiday plans. So
instead of paying your union dues, you can buy this brand new PlayStation or whatever the fuck they had in 1960.
You can get this brand new stick and hoop.
I was gave up, man. Our mind meld has gotten really well done, man.
They were authorized to call strike votes. That would significantly escalate the strike.
Yeah, no.
So additionally, they were now calling in like every negotiator in the tri-state area. So you had Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New Jersey all sending their state labor mediators. They were, in addition to the federal negotiators who were already there, federal negotiators were still demanding that they kept final authority on what proposals got sent out.
Okay.
But basically, I'm imagining just a very smoke-filled room of all of these negotiators getting more and more packed. And it's now just like 40 or 50 old guys in the 60s all packed in flannel suits, smoking and drinking through the entire negotiation process.
And yelling at each other, yeah.
And yelling at each other. While like hacking up a lung. So impact of the strike was also starting to spread. The city had been using A&P stores as distribution centers for food welfare programs. So before SNAP, you would actually get like a parcel of food.
Yeah.
But due to the strike, they had to shift those to new locations that were directly operated by the city. Because basically, like, the stores were just shut down and closed, and no one could get into them.
Yeah, and no one's getting food.
Yeah. So then Food Fair said, or a spokesman for Food Fair said that their 125 stores in the tri-state area were completely out of poultry, seafood, fresh meats, and luncheon meats.
Oh, that's just about everything.
Yep. And they had canceled all new meat deliveries for the time being.
All right.
He did say that we have plenty of frozen dinners, canned hams, and a large stock of bacon.
Oh, God. 1960s TV dinners.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
I'm imagining a canned ham is just Spam.
Yeah, it's Spam.
I don't want to think about it being anything other than Spam.
Canned ham, in quotation marks?
Steamed hams.
It was ham.
So the situation at the 225 Acme markets in the area was also the same. And then, weirdly, because the strike had disrupted the poultry market, egg prices went insane.
Oh, God.
And it was just interesting to see all the little side effects of shutting down meat consumption in the city. So Wednesday evening, a new agreement had been reached in negotiations. The committee seemed pleased with it.
Okay.
Both them and the federal negotiators actually encouraged membership to vote yes this time.
All right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
weirdly, like they had agreed to, or they had made pretty much, or they had gotten to a tentative agreement, but then negotiations were still continuing.
Oh, okay.
Which didn't quite make sense. But the negotiations had lasted for 6.5 hours on that Wednesday.
It's a lot of cigarettes. A lot of cigars in there, man.
Then finally, I wonder what they were serving during the negotiations because they couldn't get
Canned ham. Spam. Okay.
God, I'm just imagining.
That's one way to get them to fold, to get the company to fold. Like, hey, here's some of the spam that the only thing is on your shelf.
Mm-hmm. I'm just imagining what that room smelled like with like
cigarette smoke and spam.
50 empty cans of spam and like 6 hours of cigarette smoke.
Oh my God. Oh, if they didn't come out of there with like a cancer and a hunkering for a fresh cut of meat, I don't know.
They were thoroughly pickled at that point. So, Vice President of the Meat Cutters Union, Harry R. Poole, actually left the AFL-CIO convention that year. He left early to participate in the negotiations.
Okay.
So now we have a federal negotiator, a negotiator from each of the 3 states in the area, negotiators from the company, union negotiators, and the vice president of the union.
Damn, it's a lot of negotiating.
All chain smoking and eating spam.
To be a fly on the wall.
Oh, God. You'd probably die.
I was about to say, who probably dies from the smell.
So workers gathered. Finally, tentative agreement got passed out. Workers gathered at the Met at Broad and Poplar on Thursday, December 7th, to vote yes or no on ratification. They actually had to hold 2 separate meetings because the union was so large.
Oh, okay.
So basically, from what I could tell, it received almost like fully unanimous support. There were only 12 no votes.
Only 12?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
So what they got was a 27-month contract, which starting in December. Oh, actually, that puts them with the strike. The strike would be early March, which means they could threaten Easter.
And St. Patty's Day, corned beef.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That actually, that I hadn't thought about those dates yet, but that's a good tactic there. So 27-month contract. Wages went up $6 a week for the first 15 months.
Okay.
$5 a week for the next 12. So an $11 per week raise.
All right.
Which is up from 9. So
yeah,
that's good. Then overtime, it looks like that's where the union compromised the most. For the first night after 6 p.m. every week, workers will receive their straight hourly pay. For every night after that, they'd get time and a half with 3 hours guaranteed at that rate. So then they also created the position of chief boxman.
What? What?
So I think I'm not entirely sure what a boxman is. I couldn't find that information. If there are any butchers who listen to this, please write in and tell us what the hell a boxman is. So if you
thought like Cassius Clay was coming out and be like, oh man,
that
cut like a T-bone.
So that's what it is. A boxman is someone that trains by punching all of the meat hanging in the back of the butcher shop. That makes sense. So if you had 2 boxmen, the senior boxman would be given the title of chief boxman and be given a slight raise.
Because Mickey loves you.
Mm-hmm. So then part-timers got an hourly wage increase of 15 cents per hour in the first 15 months. And then 12.5 cents per hour in the next 12 months.
Okay.
So a total of 27.5 cents per hour over the whole contract.
All right.
They also got sick leave for the first time ever. You got sick leave starting 4 days after the sickness occurs.
What?
I think it's basically like if you miss 4 days of work, then you start getting paid sick leave. So if you call out sick for 4 days, then your sick leave kicks in. Which it's better than not getting any sick leave.
Gabe, no, we don't know. No.
Well, vacations, it now would only take 8 years to earn 3 weeks of annual vacation, as opposed to the previous 10 years.
What are we doing in this country, Gabe?
Yep.
What are we doing in this country?
And finally, the workload would be decided by a committee made up of both parties in further negotiations.
No, I think the workload should be determined by the workers, the people who actually do the work, because they actually know what they're doing.
And they know about loads, so.
Gabe. It's all about those ass cages.
Yep. So, contract was retroactive to December 1st. Workers returned to their jobs at all 515 stores by Thursday afternoon.
Okay.
And pretty much immediately, by the next day,
they went on the fucking strike again, Gabe.
No, all of the stores were fully stocked with fresh meats, poultry, and fish.
And the people rejoiced.
And all was right with the world.